Hi, I'm Jerry McLaughlin. Welcome to Special Ops. It stands for Special Opinions. And here's my opinion. Never mind what the Supreme Court did in the Pennsylvania case. Who cares? Have you ever heard the phrase, six one way, a half dozen the other? Well, that's one way of saying two different things, actually two identical things in different ways. But Donald Trump isn't just getting two different ways of saying something that's the same, but he's got three different major paths to victory right now. Let me explain, because you haven't seen this on the major media, obviously. Number one path to victory for Donald Trump is the Supreme Court can still rule on the Pennsylvania election, but not in the same way, not taking that exact case that they turned down. They could rule by way of Texas. Let me explain that too. The president is fighting malfeasance and election fraud, as we know, and he must not concede the election. Every member of the United States Supreme Court knows of fundamental voter fraud. It's obvious. Anybody who watches television, even the liberal media, knows it's obvious. We've seen the boarded up windows, locked out doors, poll watchers not allowed to be in, Democrats in inner city areas in swing states counting the votes with no witnesses, etc. Suitcases of ballots being pulled out from under the tables in the middle of the night without election overseers from the Republican side. Okay, so that's a no-brainer. Every member knows that they can every member of the United States Supreme Court knows that. That's what's key here. They know that it's a fraudulent election. And we'll talk about Texas now. Texas filed a lawsuit, not about Texas per se, not about miscounts in Texas. So here's what's interesting about it. They filed a case about Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Michigan. They're claiming that those states, get this, those states other than Texas conducted unlawful elections and thus hurting the voters of Texas in their will. If the voters of Texas, and they did vote overwhelmingly for Donald Trump, and yet some other state cheats, so Donald Trump does not win, it's thwarting the decision of the people, the majority of people in Texas. Makes sense, right? Why don't we see this on CNN or MSNBC? Now, claiming that these states conducted unlawful elections and basically is saying the results are unconstitutional. And if the results are unconstitutional, ideally, you'd want it to go to what court? The United States Supreme Court. We got a check and balance. We got the Senate, we got the House, we got the presidency, we got the courts. I mean, there's a check and balance that our founding fathers put together, right? Okay. But you might ask, how on earth can this brand new suit that was just filed go all the way up to the Supreme Court in time? Doesn't have to go through a normal process, lower court, higher court, appellate court, all this different time. Got to file for certiorari or cert for short, et cetera. No. Again, why aren't we seeing this in the major media? Why aren't we even seeing it in the alternative media? Why aren't we seeing it in the conservative media? There's something very bizarre going on. Maybe people just don't understand it, or maybe they're just intimidated or plain old discouraged, weary and well-being. But let me explain. Cases brought forth by individual states are indeed permitted to completely bypass the lower court entanglements. And it goes directly to the Supreme Court. Now, part of this is based on what I've read that was set up by Rick Gates, deputy campaign manager, 2016 for Donald Trump, and he should know. He was there in the very close election before, and he was in the thick of it. He would know. And he sent another path to victory by email to me, and I could read you that. This would be Trump path to victory number 2. The Electoral College is scheduled to vote on December 14th. Now, if the president can convince enough electors from the states that fraud irrevocably impacted the race, he can prevent Joe Biden from securing 270 votes, thus halting the election. Remember, Trump doesn't have to win 270 votes. He just has to keep Joe Biden from receiving 270 votes. But you might say, well, he's already got them. Well, they're reversible. The Electoral College has not voted yet, and there's another path to victory as well. Let's talk about that. Trump path to victory number 3. Peace and love, number 3. The president, well, I'll just say it. The president can challenge the results on January 6th, 2021. I know we're getting awfully close to the swearing in date of the new president of January 20th. In fact, it's exactly 2 weeks away on January 6th. And by the way, I'm going to digress a little bit since we talk about 2 weeks. Do you know that just under 2 weeks after President Trump won election in 2016 and assumed office January 20th, 2 weeks after January 20th, I know a person very well who made a video that said Donald Trump is the greatest president in the history of the United States, including Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and Ronald Reagan. Yours truly. And it's a matter of record. You could look it up. Greatest president in the history of the United States, Facebook on Clean TV, CLEAN TV, one word. And I said, based upon the first 10 days in office of Donald Trump, he was the greatest president in history. And I explained why. I won't go into the details here, but I just thought I'd toss that in. I am consistent with that. I still believe more than ever that Donald Trump is the greatest president in U.S. history. George Washington or Abraham Lincoln couldn't have pulled this off. I'm sorry. I mean, George Washington was a wonderful commander and general and stuff, and I give him credit where credit is due, and all the founding fathers for launching a fledgling republic this big, a little pimple on England's back. But now we got the largest economy in U.S. history, the strongest economy in U.S. history under Donald Trump. It is huge, or as Donald Trump would say, it is huge. So, greatest president in U.S. history. I'm consistent with that. And when you look at it later on, historians, if they're honest about it, will agree, I believe. Okay, let's talk about the third Trump path to victory. And again, feel free to share this with anybody you want, friends and enemies alike, because this material, 90% of this, you're not getting anywhere else. So get ready to share. But here's the final on the wisdom or lack thereof, depending on your perspective in this video of special ops, special opinions. Okay, my opinion, third path to victory for Donald Trump is challenging the results on January 6th. So that is when Congress takes up the electoral vote and must certify it. Well, if the president convinces the state delegations, the individual 50 state delegations, that the election was marred by fraud, then Congress will not certify the election. Now, come on. You don't think that every member there of those in the delegation understands that there was fraud? Do you really think they want history to record that they were the ones who rubber stamped fraud? No. And if Trump could favorably succeed in either instance I just mentioned, or any of the three, he still could find and will find, I believe, a win and a path to election for the second term. Now, I hope I haven't lost you at this point, but just so you know, if the election is thrown into the House for a decision, it's not the Pelosi House. You may think, what is Jerry smoking here? No, it's not a House by Nancy Pelosi. It's not the one we understand. It's not 438 reps. It's only 50 reps for this particular kind of House. Our founding fathers, again, were wise in how they did this. It's a House delegation with one member from each of the 50 states. And who holds most of the 50 states? Democrats? No. Nancy Pelosi? No. Republicans. Republicans have a majority in the 50 states, so it's a slam dunk. Trump wins. If it gets to that particular fork in the road, peace and love. So Nancy Pelosi could rip up any document she wants to when this is all over. And when it's all said and done, she could oversee or look at from a distance the 50-member House. But it doesn't matter what her gavel says or what she rips up. Any way you rip it up or any way you slice it, if this matter goes to that special House, as our founding fathers set forth, Trump wins. Thank you for being here for another edition of Special Ops. Enjoy the second term of impeach number 3, 4, 5, 10, and whatever, and Teflon Donald Trump will prevail.